And proceed with your testimony.
My name is Melissa Rice, and I'm representing the First Responders Symposium of Philadelphia. A few years ago, I was asked to put together and speak at a symposium for first responders, and I asked the question, why me? I've been a mental health advocate for years, but I have never been a first responder, so how could I relate to these people? When I started organizing it and meeting with these speakers on Zoom, I could just feel their stories, their pain of losing loved ones, of struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder. And I knew there was a reason I was here. I knew that although I couldn't experience what they went through on the job, we all had mental health. We all had things going on. And if we could start the conversation and talk about mental health issues and bring this awareness about, it's very important. But we have to focus on those left behind who are lost to suicide, those family members. Particularly, I meet Regan, whose husband was a Philadelphia police officer, died by suicide, leaving 2-month-old twins at home. Her health care was being cut off, funeral expenses, and she's meant to deal with that, but all the grief she's facing. I've heard this twice already. We're very lucky it's a low number. Do you know why it's a low number? Because it's not in uniform, it's at home. Also, if you have addiction or overdose, suicide and overdose statistics are not accurate because they will label them as an overdose or a suicide when it could have been either or. So we don't even know the exact numbers of this. If you look at the stats, 13.5 out of 100,000 people represent the general population that will die by suicide. 18 or 19 of first responders out of 100,000 represent that. It may not seem like a big jump, but going from 13 to 18 because of the high stress pressures of this job and going from one scene to the next scene to the next scene without being able to cope with what happened, if I was in a traumatic situation, I would have time to back off and cope. They are literally risking their lives every day going into scene, and not being able to cope with these things. And you want to talk about prevention? Trust me, there's a lot of prevention. This man sitting next to me, peer support, employee assistance. I have sat in with his firefighters and done workshops with him. I've done workshop with the Philadelphia Police Department, who just started their peer support program with Sergeant Janine Brown. So there is prevention happening. I don't want to hear that. There are conferences, there are symposiums, there is awareness. But when someone is struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder or mental illness, you look at my life's perfect. You think at 15, playing sports, having a great life with family, I thought I was going to attempt to end my life? No. Why? Because I'm struggling so much, and I look at that struggle, and then I see it times a million by these first responders who are struggling every day with these scenes that they're seeing, and I forget the one person that's closest to me. My husband, who served as a police officer for only 1 year. And he talked to me the other day, and I forgot the situation he went through. That he was a rookie, and it was his first couple months, and he was called to a train station where there was a suicide. And he was 20-something years old and walked in, and what he saw of the remains haunted him for months. And you know what? I was so young that I didn't know how to deal with it. And it's really crazy that I've been in this work since 21, I'm 38. And the fact that last week is the first time I've remembered he went through this. I totally forgot my own husband went through that. And although he's not a police officer anymore and I'm proud of the work he does, I think of that one scene and him waking up and him thinking about this and that replaying in his head and wonder these first responders who were on the job for, I don't care if it's 3 months to years, about what they see all the time. We have to focus on these families. A Regan who was left to raise her twins alone with no medical benefits. How is the funeral going to get paid? We have to start focusing because you know what? Our first responders serve us, but their families sacrifice so much. And yes, it's great that we don't have a huge number of suicide in Philadelphia, but there are reasons for that because those numbers are not being shown. And I can 100% tell you that one of the people that spoke on the panel at the First Responder Symposium was a police officer who went in and found their coworker who was supposed to be coming to their shift. They didn't show up. A police officer in Philadelphia because they took their own life that morning. So what does that mean? Because they were home in their pajamas, taking their own life from the stress of the job, we don't focus on that person? And I know you all are in support of this, and I appreciate it, but I have to testify with this passion because mental health is so important, and I promised myself, I don't care if it's young adults, kids, 3-year-olds, all the way up to first responders, to our amazing older citizens, I'm going to fight for mental health. I'm going to fight for prevention and those resources, but I'm also going to fight for supporting those families that are left behind because of suicide, because of first responders who are literally risking their lives for us, and those families that are sacrificing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony and for being here and for sharing your personal